Tim Kilduff, and this is Business Matters. The real focus of this program is not just to talk about businesses in Hopkinton, but more importantly, to talk about the people who run them and how they got to their position, how they decided their line of work, talk a little bit about their passion for their work, and get a sense of what they feel like in terms of working in Hopkinton. Today, we have with us Drew Carnes, who is new to Hopkinton, is the owner of something called CrossFit Resilience. And, you know, without getting into it, let's jump right into this, if you don't mind.
Sounds great, Tim.
CrossFit Resilience.
Yes.
Give us a definition.
Well, CrossFit is the name of a worldwide now type of fitness program. There are about 4,000 CrossFit entities across the globe. CrossFit started in the late 1990s out in California, and it was really gyms that were based out of people's garages. And it started getting more and more and more popular and started spreading across the US and then jumped over to Europe and so on, and now there's 4,000 worldwide. In mass, there are already 60. So CrossFit itself is red hot. The relationship I have with CrossFit is called an affiliate relationship, which means I'm the owner, I'm totally independent, and I have a trade name relationship with them. So I follow their programming, I get their support, but I run my operation here in Hopkinton the way that I want. And CrossFit's just a wonderful, progressive, now highly popular method of allowing people of all levels, both genders, to get in the best shape of their lives.
So most of us are familiar with The Biggest Loser and television programs like that, and they have exercise regimes in that aren't what I would describe as typical. They're swinging ropes, they're lifting tires. Is that what we're talking about?
In part, absolutely. One of the great things about CrossFit is its variety. A lot of styles of fitness are terrific, and there's tons out there that are very focused. So there are some places that are cardio oriented. So you have spinning classes, and it really gets your heart rate up, and it's very aerobic. You have other places that are very weightlifting oriented, and that could either be powerlifting or Olympic lifting, again, very focused. You have other places that are gymnastics oriented, and that's all they do. You have other places, not as many, that are strongman workouts and facilities. The beauty of CrossFit is it incorporates all of these things into one place, and what we pride ourselves on is making people multifaceted, ready for anything that life might throw at them. And so if you've never done gymnastics or haven't done it since grade school, you'll be doing gymnastics. There's a ton of cardio. There's weightlifting that's really geared towards the level of the individual who's partaking in the activity. Once again, there's a ton of variety every week, even every day that you come to CrossFit, and some of that is reflected in The Biggest Loser. Yeah. In fact, there's one trainer on The Biggest Loser who is a CrossFit person. So he's taken a lot of the CrossFit activities and he's incorporated it on the show.
Well, we'll come back to that because I want to really drill down some of the things that I'm interested in. There's got to be different regimens and regimens for age groups, and I'm sure we can get into that. But is this your background? I mean, you're opening up a CrossFit facility. Is that your training?
I'd say it's not my background, but it's my passion. And let me explain a little bit more. I am 47 years old. I spent the first 24 years of my career in the insurance industry. I worked for Chubb Insurance Company for about 14 years. And then for the next 10 years, I worked for One Beacon Insurance Company. And insurance is a great industry. It treated me extremely well. I enjoyed it to a certain degree. I loved the people that I worked with, loved the entities that I worked for. But at the end of the day, insurance was not my passion. It was a job that I made into a career. But the entire time I was saying to myself, wouldn't it be great if someday I could pursue my passion? And in middle of 2010, I was at One Beacon at the time. I ran the commercial operation for One Beacon. We sold that entity to Hanover Insurance Company out of Worcester. And it was a perfect opportunity, a crossroads, so to speak, for me to say, do I want to continue on in the insurance industry, or this might be a nice time for me to finally do what I've always been thinking about and pursue my passion, which is really two things. I always wanted to see if I can start and run my own business and truly be an entrepreneur. And secondly, I've always loved the world of fitness. So I wanted to see if I could find something that incorporated both of those desires. And so what I did in the middle of 2010 is I decided I've had enough insurance. I retired, and I went on a bit of a hunt to find something that would satisfy my needs.
What's your educational background?
I went to Hamilton College, upstate New York, graduated in 1987, grew up in New York City, went to Regis High School in New York City. Along the way, took a lot of advanced education for business and for insurance specifically, but that's really my educational background. You're probably saying, well, my God, how does this make you competent in the world of fitness? Well, along the way, ever since I was in high school, I played sports in high school, I played sports in college, and as part of the sports process, as you know, fitness and weight training and those things are essential. And I always found myself enjoying that end of things almost as much as I did the sport itself. And then you finish college, you graduate, and all of a sudden the sports are over, you try to maintain the fitness, it becomes harder and harder because your rigorous schedules, but I always felt myself drawn to fitness, and whenever I threw myself back into it, I was always extremely happy. So I continued down that path of fitness, and recently, over the last 4 or 5 years, I found myself doing all the trendy things, P90X, Insanity, doing all the classes, the spinning classes, anything I could get my hands on. I felt myself pulled more and more in that direction, and I started to have a bit of a following. A bunch of local friends in Norfolk, Mass, where I am, wanted to take classes with me. I was happy to do it. I did it for free, and I worked out with these people. It was satisfying for me. It was satisfying for them, and I kind of knew at that point that this is really what I needed to do. So since then, after I retired, I took a lot of classes and got certified as a trainer. But I'm not the one who will be doing the bulk of the teaching. What I did for my business, CrossFit Resilience, is I went out and I found 2 individuals who I've now hired full-time, who went to Springfield College, have trained for 4 years for this. Then they went out and they worked for 2 fitness entities in the Boston area, took internships in this area. So altogether, they've been training specifically for this industry for the last 6 years. Those are the people who will take everybody through the training.
Is there a certification for them?
Absolutely. They have their degree in exercise science, a 4-year degree, and then they've gotten certified in a multitude of different fitness areas. So they're each carrying 5 to 6 different degrees, and it all reflects the type of activities that we'll be doing at CrossFit Resilience. The important part is you never want to go into an entity where the only experience that a person has or the certification they have is they took a weekend course. That's a recipe for disaster, especially if you're doing more intense, progressive workouts, which is what we try to do at CrossFit. What I wanted to make sure that we delivered there, and most good CrossFit operations do this, is you come in, you want to be able to trust your gym owner and your trainers to keep you safe, to push you, but to push you wisely, and have you walking out of there feeling better, not worse. And that's what the degrees and all the experience that these 2 individuals especially bring to the party.
So I get the passion part of it, but you also have, it appears to me, you have a distinct advantage because you've got a business background. I mean, there's 2 parts of what you're interested in, obviously, the passion part, the fitness, but you've got to run a business as well.
Absolutely. Before I went into the fitness area, a lot of my friends and even family members said to me, well, you sure you want to do this? Because gyms and fitness centers are a lot like restaurants. The failure rate is extremely high. So just, cautionary note, make sure you think about it. And I think it's true. I can't speak to why restaurants fail so frequently, but I can speak to why I think gyms fail as often as they do. And it's because they're usually run by people who are passionate about fitness and skilled in being a trainer, but not skilled in how to run a business.
Yeah, good
and
point.
The one thing that I bring to the party that is hopefully going to make a big difference is, while my two trainers are doing what they love most and are passionate about and competent in, I'll be doing what I have a lot of experience in, is running a business. I've done it for 24 years with some degree of success, and I'm sure there'll be new challenges in this business, but the basic blocking and tackling on how to run a business remains largely the same no matter what you're doing. So I'm going to test that theory here shortly.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the facility in Hopkinton.
Yep.
Plenty of places you could go, I'm sure, and there are facilities all over the place. Now, and my sense is that CrossFit operations are not like a traditional sort of high-end gym. I mean, you're not, when you walk in to your facility, which is where?
At 25 South Street, right across from the Price Chopper.
Oh, it's a great location, but when you walk into that facility, what does it look like?
What I wanted for a CrossFit, and a lot of CrossFits desire the same thing, is you look for a warehouse type facility. A big shell, high ceilings, concrete block walls, plenty of room for people to maneuver. What we've done is we found that at 25 South Street, and we have about a 6,200 square foot business. So we had a warehouse shell that's perfect for what we wanted, 18-foot ceilings, those concrete walls we desired, rolling, loading dock doors, so we get great cross ventilation, and we can take a lot of the things we do outside. We have all of that. What we did at the front end of the building, you walk in and you'll have about 1,500 square feet of space where we have a lounge and kitchen area, because we try to form a community. The good CrossFits do this. People don't work out by themselves and then rush out the door. They like to talk about the workout. They like to have some protein afterwards. Just catch up and build friendships. So we've created a lounge that would be conducive to all of that. There's a nice big reception area. We built 2 locker rooms with showers in each. And of course, we have the offices. So that's the first 1,500 feet, and then the remainder of the facility, once again 6,200 square feet, is in the back, which is rubber floors, rolled rubber floors, and turf, and absolutely brand new equipment that I'm sure our membership will put to great use.
But the equipment itself is not going to be like a traditional, what I would describe as a traditional fitness center.
Right. Generally, if you go into a Gold's Gym, a Planet Fitness, a WOW, what you see is just a ton of equipment. And the experience that you ordinarily have is a very lonely one. And that's fine for a lot of people. You go in and you had a hard day at work, you want to come in and blow off some steam and largely be by yourself and go from machine to machine, whether it be cardio or weightlifting, and that's the experience that you have. Our facility and the CrossFit approach is completely different. When you come in, what we provide is virtually 100% trainer-based, class-based. So we have classes throughout the day that accommodates almost everybody's schedules. You come in and the class might be 10 to 20 people in each one of the classes. And so what you have is you have camaraderie. You have, we want people to work intensely. So you have trainers who will push you, but as mentioned before, they'll push you correctly, safely. But you also get pushed by the other people in the class. And it's like playing a sporting event. When you're on a team and you go through a rigorous activity, there's this cohesion that's created between you and your teammates. That's the experience that you get in CrossFit. You come in and you work a little bit harder, in many cases a lot harder, both because of the trainers and because of the classes. We don't have those fancy machines all over the place. We have pull-up rigs, we have weights, we have the track where you push things and you pull things, we have rowers and we have bikes, but it is not a lonely experience, it's not drudgery. In large part, I think the reason that I love CrossFit so much is that we've taken the workout experience and transformed it into a sport that's done with other people. So when you come in, Tim, we'll work on your strength, we'll work on your skills, we'll work on your mobility, and I know eventually you'll come in. But the culmination of each class is we have a workout of the day, which is like a sport. And when the whistle blows, you do the workout, and you're handicapped. It's just like golf. In golf, you receive a handicap, you go out on a Sunday or a Saturday, you play with your friends, and you have a little competition. That's the same kind of mentality that we have at CrossFit. And for anybody who likes sport, That's what we've done to fitness. We've transformed it into sport, and hopefully for those who partake, we've made it fun again.
Now you've got a facility, 6,000 square feet?
Yes.
It takes some resources, right? You got to fill it with things.
Yes.
So what's the investment for something like that? You know, total build out to get ready for customers.
Yeah. The total upfront one-time capital costs are roughly just a shade over $250,000. And you know, the bulk of that is the build out of the facility that I just described. Bathrooms and locker rooms turned out to be a little more expensive than I realized. But the bulk of the rest of the money went towards equipment and flooring and just giving the facility the look and feel that we really wanted.
So you have made a roughly $250,000 investment in a facility that sits in Hopkinton.
That's correct.
All right, why Hopkinton?
A couple of reasons. Well, more than a couple, actually. I think the process begins, as I mentioned before, I'm from Norfolk, Mass. And it would have been nice if I was able to put this facility close to my home, but I had enough flexibility to say location is everything. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't go for convenience, but instead I gave the business a chance to succeed by finding the ideal place to locate. So I did my analysis in the entire state within an hour drive of Norfolk. And I got it down to a short list. And I looked at a lot of the normal things. Where is there limited competition? Where might there be a need for the product I'm selling? CrossFit is a little more expensive than a Planet Fitness, for example, so there has to be a certain degree of wealth within a town. Which towns have a sports focus for both adults and for children? Highway access is a big thing. So I looked at a bunch of these different, what I'd call ordinary analytics, and I got down to a few towns. Braintree was a prime contender, Walpole, Canton, and then Hopkinton. And I was pursuing all four simultaneously, and I was looking for things that would make one town finally stand out. And Hopkinton ended up standing out for a variety of reasons. It had all of the elements that I already described.
Right.
But when I came and visited Hopkinton, I met with the people at the town hall, because what I learned pretty quickly is if a town has bad zoning laws or complex zoning laws and overly rigorous rules about getting permitted, it could take a business that you wanted to get up and running in 3 months and turn it into a 9 to 12 months experience, far more expensive and far more aggravating than you wanted. And I started to learn that by dealing with some of these other towns. When I got to Hopkinton and met with the people at the town hall, it was obvious to me right away that there was a difference from the other towns. I got the feeling immediately that Hopkinton was a pro-business town. They were going to make sure that they protected Hopkinton, but they wanted to attract business, and they made it very clear. They had a high level of urgency. And I understood the rules of engagement. And I was able to make decisions very quickly based on the feedback that they gave me. And all this seems very obvious. Well, how can a town not do that? But you would be surprised. I felt like I was going to get caught in red tape in a lot of these other towns, and the town officials weren't going to move with the level of urgency that I wanted. And that was absolutely, my gut told me that that was absolutely not true here in Hopkinton. And now I got into the location on July 1st, so I'm almost 2 months into this. And everything that I originally thought has been turning out to be true relative to the interaction that I've had with the town on all the necessary building issues.
Well, that's we don't hear that often. A lot of times people will talk about difficulty in operating a business in the Commonwealth and that sort of thing, but that's a good message to hear. The kind of support and the enthusiasm that you were met with. That's absolutely terrific.
Very consistent across the board, from the town clerk to the building inspector and his entire staff. They've been sensational so far. Now, I'm hoping I get the final blessing here this week, but whether I do or I don't, that would be my own doing. They have been extremely, extremely helpful. Another thing I might mention to answer your previous question is the marathon theme. As I learned more about Hopkinton and drove around, I see the start of the marathon in the center of town, and I was still considering in the end whether I should go to Braintree or to Hopkinton, and I had a conversation with some out-of-towners. And I told them, oh, I'm thinking about Braintree, I'm thinking about Hopkinton. And the familiarity, I didn't think these people from California would have familiarity with either of these two towns, but immediately the recognition of Hopkinton as the place where the marathon started, it was, they recognized it, and it was nice to have a town that people associated with sport and to a certain degree fitness. And it just, it's a little thing, but since I am involved in that arena, it just felt right to me, kind of an intangible.
Yeah, again, interesting. Passion, understanding business, searching out locales, and then this intangible of Hopkinton, its relationship to the marathon. It's an interesting mix. What's your schedule like? You started in what month did you say?
We got into the location July 1st.
Okay.
And building takes a while, so we have to choose the general contractors and so forth. So right now the building looks like it will be finished this week. And what we've done though, just to get active and to be involved in the community, is we started doing free boot camps at EMC Park in the center of town. And we've been doing those on Wednesday and Friday mornings from 6:30 to 7:30. And it's gotten increasingly popular. Now we'll have 15 to 20 people each session that we do. We just had a class this morning with 15 people. So it's terrific and it's fun for us, and it allows us to get used to interacting with the Hopkinton folks. We're going to hopefully take the boot camp into the facility on Friday, and then starting on Tuesday after the holiday, the classes that we'll have for 2 weeks until the 15th of September are going to be free. And we'll have what I call is kind of a limited class schedule until we have more members. But the classes will be 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 6 p.m. So 4 classes a day, and we want people to come down and just sign up for free, get to see the facility. To me, it's very important that anybody who jumps into CrossFit does it with both eyes open, with a great deal of enthusiasm. So I want people to come down and make sure they like the facility, they like the trainers, they like the approach that CrossFit has, and it really suits them. And so they have 2 weeks in the very beginning to figure it out. And if the beginning of September doesn't work well for somebody, for the foreseeable future, I'm determined to give free 1 week memberships, just so that people can see if this is what they really want to pursue.
How do you deal with, because when you think about this could be pretty intimidating. When you hear the concept in general, there's got to be a lot of fear, and people may hold off coming down there. You just don't jump right into severe training.
No, absolutely not. And I'm glad you brought it up, because it's one of the biggest reservations that I hear from people that I would consider potential members is, oh, CrossFit's too aggressive for me. I'm not at that level of athleticism. And I think that misconception has come about for a couple of reasons. And the biggest one is that right now, for the last 2 years, CrossFit's gotten so popular, there's a national worldwide competition. And that competition is actually carried on ESPN. So if you're watching ESPN and you see the CrossFit Games, you see these absolute freaky athletes, both men and women. They are at the highest level of this, I'll call it a sport. And I think people see that and they say, oh my God, I'm not like that. Well, nobody's like that. They're ridiculously fit. They're not normal. What we want to emphasize to people is, I'll go back to the comment I made before about, we call it scaling. In golf, they call it handicapping. What we try to do strictly is, we'll train athletes, high school and collegiate athletes, absolutely. But really, our bread and butter is making normal people prepared for the trials of everyday life, so that they can do what they do feeling great, feeling safe, You've heard so many stories about people picking up their child, pulling their back.
Right.
That's just normal activity. So what we do is exercise that'll prepare you for life's usual stuff. So what we'll do is we'll do an assessment on you when you come in. We'll determine your current fitness level, and then every exercise that you do will be scaled to your personal level of fitness. And you will aspire to go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, but you will never be pushed beyond that which you're capable of safely doing.
Well, you know, this is an exciting discussion for lots of reasons. And I told you when we set this up that 30 minutes would go by quickly, and it has. It's hard to believe, but you know, to encapsulate, here's someone who's got a business background, who has a passion for fitness, yep. Been able to very luckily, I guess, be able to put those two together. Did a lot of research, decided to open up an operation in Hopkinton. And I guess the best way to end this is we wish you all the best, and it seems to me that you've got a solid base and an understanding not just of how to run a business, but how to care for people and get them ready for day-to-day and normal life activities. So we wish you all the best.
Appreciate it, Tim. Thank you very much.